Hi, how's the day going so far? I'm so jealous. I missed the whole day. You've no idea how jealous I am of you guys. So, I always love the 2 sites. I was here last year as well. It was really, really good. Yeah, I'm here to talk about this was my thesis. This still is my thesis because I was very late with it. And I don't care because it's my thesis. I'm too old to worry about getting it in time, and I have loads and loads and loads of things going on. So originally I was positioning to have a thesis on the vulnerabilities that were with cyberspace in space, which is very interesting. It's very interesting for me because I come from 20 years in telecoms. I'm a network security engineer, and then would have grown up through the ranks and become product security, and then looking at secure infrastructure and very much in networks, not in IT. So it's looking at how we move. I haven't done this properly. How we move big data around the world. There we go. So space was just another extension. Like at that stage, Vodafone didn't have their contract with Starlink, but I knew at the time that I was doing this that there was going to be the next step. And it just made sense to look at what the space infrastructure was, because they were going to use it for communications primarily. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. We don't have an awful lot of time. I could do like loads of different roads on this one because it's a fascinating thing to look into, and I very much recommend you kind of check into it because it's really cool. From a security perspective, it is absolutely fascinating. And for me, I work in critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure is all about cleaning. It's not about fancy stuff. It's all about being as boring as possible and getting everything correct and right and running and not changing everything and doing fancy stuff in the background so that you're making sure there's complete change control and there's all of the cryptography in place to have complete authentication. But in essence, you're aiming for that as boring as possible. So lives, because you're dealing with lives here. So you're trying to make it as safe and non-changeable as possible. And we'll talk a little bit about the challenges that infrastructure going to space has with that. Not with that, but that location poses for the security of infrastructure and the safety of people. So yeah, it's my Italia Assurances. I set up a company two years ago, just primarily to do contracting to explain why there's 2 different companies. I don't like the name. I'm trying to change it. So I'm kind of dithering between Bluefish at the moment. And it's not a huge big company. It's me consulting. I consult in Europe and I consult with people who need help, really. And it works because I'm female and I don't tick people off, and I come from telecom, so people don't tick me off, and I can be fairly calm with them when they're shouting at me. And that's kind of half the battle in security, just staying as calm as possible and thinking about the psychology. The people are always going to scream at you. There was water on this thing, so it's gotten wet. Is there a tissue in there?
That's probably there.
It wasn't me, but I don't want to be late. So the main thing to start off with is space is a strange place from a legal perspective. It's not owned by anybody, and there's only like 5 laws globally for it. And there have been since 1967. That original law is still there. Never said I was good at computers. I was messing with this before I came out, so excuse me, some stuff is going to be upside down. So the Outer Space Treaty is the foundation of all space law. It was done in 1967, and actually Star Trek was the year before, so Star Trek predates I love that fact. I'm a big Trekkie. it was a treaty of the principles governing the activities of states in the exploration and use of outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies. Big, grand framework, and it's all very it's all done very here we go. Now stuck in deal. So it was all done very grandiose. It was very kind of Star Trek. We're going to like you, and you're going to like us, and everybody's going to get on with it. So the exploration and use of outer space shall be carried out for the benefit and the interest of all countries, and shall be in the provenance of all mankind. Outer space is not subject to national appropriation or claim of sovereignty by means of use or occupation or by any other means. I'm not going to read every single slide like this. I just like this one because it's just very humanitarian. States shall not place nuclear weapons or any other weapons of mass destruction in orbit or on celestial bodies, or station them in outer space in any manner. The moon and other celestial bodies shall be used exclusively for peaceful purposes. Astronauts shall be regarded as the envoys of mankind. It's quite a cool little phrase to have in legislation. States shall be responsible for national space activities, whether carried out by governmental or non-governmental entities. States shall be liable for damages caused by their space objects. We'll keep that one in mind. And it's cool. It's still there. It's still part of the global laws of space. That's exactly the same thing that's in place now. It's amazing, and it reads very easy and very cool. It's nice and very Star Trek-y. So the other laws that are in place is we have the United Nations Convention for the Registration of Objects Launched into Outer Space. So it was updated in 2025. There's a rescue agreement to say that anybody in space will rescue anybody who's in distress. So, I don't know if you remember when Russia blew up that satellite. Is it 2019? 2024? And all the guys in the space station had to go shelter because it shattered into pieces and created a never-ending crap storm that's still existing and getting worse. The resolution adopted by the General Assembly, the Convention of Registration of Objects. I copied the slide. And then falling in power. Give me a sec. Where's the power? Does anybody know where the power is? Power is.
It's on the other side, just black.
There we go. Thanks. Okay, I have a ton of different slides, so I am just going to be flicking back and forth until I find interesting ones, because I didn't really know what I was going to talk about today. Well, I did, but territorial claim is very important. Yeah, who owns the land? Like this is going to be quite important as well when you think about the moon and mining rights, and the different planets. If we do land, who's going to get the precious elements, especially if they power data centers and so on. It's going to be a bit of a fight. Next one. What's this one? This is out of whack. Sorry. This is the Cosmos I was talking about. So it was Cosmos was a depreciated satellite launched in 1982 that should have returned to Earth. It was supposed to be commissioned in 6 years. But 30 years later, it was still up there, and it was decaying. So we'll talk a bit about the decaying orbits. It was drifting at 400 meters for about 30 years. And that's 400 meters out. It's like 7 kilometers a second. So it's like whizzing around the place for 30 years. And So the Russians decided to blow it up to test it was part of their missile inventory that I think they were stocking up for Ukraine actually at that time, and they decided to test out the missile on this old satellite, and what they ended up doing was blown into smithereens and creating 1,500 pieces of debris. And again, geosynchronous orbit, everything keeps flying around the world. So they're still flying around the world at like 7 kilometers an hour, or 7 kilometers a second. And it's the astronauts had to go into shelter in the escape capsules, and they couldn't come out for, I think it was like a week or two, like just to be sure they were still beside the emergency exits, because they didn't know if all this debris was going to feck up the. I've lost my words. What's the name of that thing?
International Space.
That's the one. Sorry, I didn't sleep last night. I was doing work and I'm starting to feel it at this stage. So the US has the Cyber Delta as part of the legislation that's come out. And this is kind of a timeline of what was here before. So before 1957, we had this lovely pristine Earth. There was nothing there. Of course, there was nothing there. There was no rockets. There was no Star Trek either. So, and then 1970, we missed the 60s. So just after, then the 60s came, and then they started going into space. 70s, tiny bit of action. 80s, you see a little bit more. 1990, a little bit more, but still not too much. Then 20, you're starting to see a ring going around, and 2010, then it's getting more and more defined. So the Orbital Debris Program Office estimates that it's going to be 100 million pieces of small debris that are not currently tracked, are avoidable by spacecraft. So spacecraft are going up there with these pieces of debris going around the place, travelling at 7 kilometres a second, trying to navigate where they are. And they're not, half of these things are not tracked. You've played people like Leo Labs. We'll have a look at some Leo Labs with lovely visuals in the moment, who do track. They track, I think it's about the 38,000, but there's millions more that they don't track. So it's one thing that we're going to have to try and find a solution for. They're looking at lasers, I think, at the moment to try and obliterate them. The problem is if you blow something up, then you create microparticles. So you're increasing the problem. I wasn't intending to make this a talk about pollution, but it's a good point here. Where's the? Okay. Thank you. So, coming over, what I thought was, like, I do critical infrastructure, and that's all about being calm and just being careful and just stepping through it. And I was reckoning that, like, a lot of you guys are students, and I was just thinking that we could kind of step through the idea of, like, what a satellite really is. So, like, how many elements are there to look after a satellite? Does anybody know? I don't know. There's going to be because there's going to be tons of it. If you think about the amount of software that goes into a spaceship, it's amazing. But this is kind of a generic diagram of you have here the ground, and you can think of this like, as you can see, Starlink is bringing cell internet services, but they don't own the internet. So they have to plug into the internet somehow on the ground. And how they would typically do that is they relay the traffic back to a ground station that would be sitting in a field very close to the exchange from someone like Vodafone or O2, and then they would plug into the internet backbone that way, because the Vodafones and O2s of this world already have that big backbone. And that's how your Starlink traffic happens. It's called a virtual operator that's sitting on top of that. Then the next one is the user segment. So that's going to be where somebody has a PC, has to have a connection to Starlink. Then going up, you have, this is just looking at, you can do it by boat, you can do it by plane, you can do it on the go remotely, and so then they need to go. So what they would do is they would be, where's my PC? So PC would come from there through their internet at home, then up to the ground station, and then from the ground station up to the satellite, and then the satellite bounces it back down again, and goes wherever it needs to go, and then bounces back up, and then up and down, and here, and then down and there and back. And that's kind of the life cycle of how traffic happens. Like, satellite traffic is not hugely sexy. Like, it is quite boring. They're routers. They're basically routers in the sky. They're routers in the sky that are traveling like 7 kilometers a second. Because once, just getting it up there is the biggest problem, because you need to have a big ass rocket to get it up, and that's what the guys in Starlink are leveraging with the supply chain integration. And which I will fully admit, I am still a fan of Elon and Starlink and stuff like that, because the engineers there are great. The head of SpaceX is a female, just to let you know, and she's been brilliant. So I think anybody that thinks outside the box is pretty good. I don't give a damn about anybody's politics. But it's cool to think that we have it. I saw it in Curry's. Just before Christmas, I took a picture of it. The Starlink in Curry's. It was really cool. Now they're trying to make money, of course, but it means that it's starting to work. It also means that they have the license to operate in Ireland. So you have to, if you're a telecoms or an internet provider, you don't operate on your own. You have to be given the license from the government. And we're getting into very boring territory here. But it's kind of interesting, because, everything that people are worried about, people are monitoring me, but whatever they're doing, the government owns the license. The government can say what it wants, but everything has to be done with court orders. There's a huge amount of red tape that goes into anything that they request from anybody, whether it's an internet provider or a mobile phone provider. It's all quite procedural and, as I say, boring. So this is from an old paper. This is Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center. They evaluated back in 2005 the escalation in space bits up there. It was very behind the scenes. It wasn't a bad forecast, but it didn't really take into account people like SpaceX. I started thinking about, this is kind of out of whack. So at the moment we have 12,149 satellites in space. So it's a bit more than the 5,000 that they said. It's cool. And they're a mixture of, so before SpaceX got their license in 2019, they were mostly GPS systems, weather systems, and location, GPS. So just to see where people are. And now we have 12,149, and with SpaceX they're like exploding, of course, as well, trying to beef up the grid. And yeah, I was thinking as I was going through of like some of the challenges. So what you have in satellite systems is the same challenge that you have in electric companies. If you think of a gas company, you're not allowed. It's OT. I don't know how many people have dealt with OT. OT is really interesting, but you want to make it and leave it and don't touch it. So you put all your work in at pre-production. So you put all your work in at design. So it's the same thing with the satellite. Satellite is going up. And it's going to be very far away. You're going to have limited access to it. You will have some control for the monitors and so on. But if something physical happens to it, or for part breaks, it could be like weeks or months before it comes back down again. So it's unmanaged systems. You need to make sure that your software updates are good. Your antivirus updates are good. I haven't got to the good part. I'm start popping through this stuff now. So Leo Labs is a company in Menlo in the States that tracks all those little pieces of there's millions of pieces of space time. They have 5 trackers and what they call a seeker in the world. So they have this is from... so this is from the NASA Orbital Debris Program, just to give some more figures. 36,500 objects larger than 10 centimeters are currently tracked. There's 50,000 critical but untracked. 1 million objects under 10 centimeters. 130 million particles smaller than 1 centimeter. 15,800 tons of the total mass of all space systems. That's kind of phenomenal. So it's like things like plates, bolts, shards of metal turned so they're all turned into bullets. Now, this is the picture of the Earth. Have you seen these before? So this is a picture of I have one that works. So the Earth is in there somewhere. So guess what we look like now? So that's the globe. And it's just covered with all of these. And the red ones are actually pieces of space junk. So that's all the space junk right there. The satellites are behind that. I have something that moves. Huh? No, I don't. So something is before is espionage, the GPS, for crop monitoring as well in remote locations. Satellites are very good for that, for places that you can't get to. I was in Ghana for a while, and there's big swathes of the centre of the country that aren't connected by GPS or by mobile, and really cool for that. Also for places like the polar ice caps. Polar ice caps don't have any submarine cables, so you need to find a way to actually communicate. I'm trying to find so this is a map of the submarine cables around the world to see how all the traffic gets to those stations. And I was looking at the thinking about the OWASP. So I was looking at the ELISA. ELISA had an iteration of what was wrong with satellite systems. And I just mapped it to the OWASP. And it's exactly the same. So all these systems, they're not really fantastically different. They're systems that we use here. It's basic systems. They're just in a different location. And, you just need to think a little bit more about the location as well. And where to go. And also that you had this big, huge problem with a risk to human life. That's where is this gone? Okay. I think my slides got really, really messed up. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just working now.
Maybe take questions and then move to the next.
Yeah, I think so.